Going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And we're going to keep continuing on the bird here. Now, I'm going to jump from the cow section and I'm going to start working on this roof brace. Reason being is, as I said in the previous video, I'm not happy with the way these two separate pieces fit. So what I did is I ordered a one-piece unit from OER and it should be getting here shortly. But instead of shutting the entire job down and waiting for that to get here, we're going to keep making way. We're just going to jump in the inside. Now, I'm going to show you guys off camera. Get a little light. We plug in my light in here. Got it all positioned and ready to go. You can see here is I removed side roof braces. Now, they're in pretty good shape. I plan on reusing them. There is some pitting, but they are solid versus this round hole, as you can see. It's a little chewed up. Now, I'm going to make a little patch, and we're going to make that look as if it was never there. But check that out. That's completely rotted out. There's definitely no repairing that, but I have a replacement panel here, as you can see what it looks like. Now, the challenge I got is, if you look, sorry about my shadow, people. You look here, you can see the structure for the pillar, and also back here you can see the structure for the inner structure, the side of the car. The roof panel, the roof brace, is actually on top of everything. So in order to remove this properly, I would have to rip the entire roof skin off, or at least the front section of it. Now, I don't really want to do that because, well, this roof skin is actually in good shape, minus the window channels, which is typical on these old cars. So I'm thinking I might weld it underneath to the bottom side of this. Obviously, I'm going to cut out as much of the bad metal as I can. One thing that's I am not too thrilled about, but it's all in the name of aftermarket parts, is you see there's a little divot in this area, and that's where the rear view mirror goes. There's one screw, and then it's screwed from the front side here. Look at the aftermarket, it's flat, and you can see right there is where I tried fitting the mirror and it's hitting. So I either got to notch this, or I might just cut this out and transfer it over to here. Now, as you can see here, it's pre-tapped. None of these holes line up. As I said, mine is screwed in from the front, so these two will get welded in, and it has to get drilled out here. This one's a little off too, so I'm just probably going to weld all these holes shut, and then I'm going to throw the bracket on and hit it with some self-tappers, and that's how I'll get my holes. Now, these holes here are for the brackets that hold the headliner. As you can see, the size of them, you're definitely not going to get a screw in there, where the original, look at that, they're just like some self-tappers that held that in. So I'm going to have to fill these in as well. But that's all in the name of the game when you're dealing with aftermarket parts. Now, again, this is the way it's supposed to look. This is supposed to be on top of the brace, the A-pillar braces and everything. But as stated, I got to remove the roof skin for that, and I don't want to do that. So I'm probably going to have to modify that edge to fit underneath. I might have to make a relief cut to get things to fit correctly with the window channel and everything. We'll see once we start digging into it. Now, this brace here is also rotted out, and I plan on just rebuilding this front edge. I'm going to try and match all the angles. So this is probably going to have to get fabricated in multiple pieces, which is going to be very time consuming, but the end result will be nice. That's what's left of this thing. Obviously, it was way easier for me to just take the air hammer and rip right through the sides. Obviously, of course, we got to get in here and do some detail work. So overall, remove. Now, the air hammer, where it was all rusted, was definitely tearing it up really bad. So that's why I switched to the regular chisel and hammer. Better control, and it wasn't that much work. Now, here where the only like 6 inches of the channel is good, air hammer ripped right through on the bottom. Now, I just left this remainder of the lip here as a reference. That is going to get done. But as you can see, we're going to have to come in here and address all this. We got to clean this up. We're going to clean up in here. Oh, there goes the microphone. Well, testing. But anyways, this thing right here is cooked. It's really thin. Honestly, I know I wanted to transfer this over, but I don't know if I can. Fit it up really good inside. Gotta love the mices. But we're gonna see what we can do here. Well, on a quick initial fit, I got it forward here. I haven't even gone inside the car really to try it out yet, but I can see that here the lip is kind of far back. I don't know if that's a big deal yet or not. Looks good at this area. Maybe I need to trim a little right here so I can come forward more. This side looks decent. Now, you can kind of see, show you. This brace was originally welded on top of here. There's a little spot weld still left behind. Now, I cut this part of the window channel out to try and access it when I was trying to remove that little piece on top that didn't work out. See, the gap seems fairly close, but you get over here, and there's a bit of a gap there, and that, well, that's just because there's layers of metal in between, so probably going to have to make a relief cut here and tap that up a little bit to get that lined up good. Now, the center doesn't look too bad. Let's move on to the inside. Now, the back side of this is not going all the way up because it's hitting the inner structure here. It dips down right there. So we're probably going to have to notch the back side of this to make it work. Driver side, same deal. Going to have to notch the back a little bit. Probably notch a little off the front of this. That way we can get it to slide forward a little bit. So I got this brace fitting pretty good. Now I had to grind these edges a little bit more to get the entire brace to come forward. Also, what I did was took my hammer and dolly and I hammered these end lips down, created a little ridge so that this can sit flush with the window channel. So now that I got this fitting the way I want it to, it's time to clamp it back in the car, and we're going to have to start working on the brace that welds here. We're going to have to build that from scratch. All right, as you can see, I got it fitting good. I got a couple reference marks made. That lines up with the edge here. That lines up with that crease there. Same with that side. So now I need to start on this brace right here. And my plan of attack is I'm probably just going to cut it, take this to the bench, use that as a guideline. I'm just going to grab some sheet metal and start making a 90 with this shape in it. Then I'll bring it to the car and I'll trim it to fit instead of trying to make a template and be precise. I think it's going to be faster for me that way. So that is pretty much my plan of attack. So let's get the grinder. I'm going to slice that. As you can see, we are getting somewhere. T-Dolly definitely helped out a lot. All right, so this is pretty much what I come up with. It looks pretty good. It matches the original contours closely. Now, I was initially trying to bend that on the vise, and that just wasn't working out. So I ended up taking a piece of rod that I had laying around and some scrap, and I welded it together, and I made a T-bracket. And this thing came in clutch. Now, I did bend it a little bit, but that is not due to the strength of the rod. That was because I got impatient, and as soon as I got done welding, I started hammering on it while it was cherry red, so it was soft. But that's definitely a good little tool to have. It allowed me to make these little curves really nice, really easy. I made two little marks here, and I'm going to cut these, and I'm going to bend this at my angle needed. Then I got to come up with something to fill in the holes that I got there, but we'll figure it out when we get there. We're just going to keep moving forward. All right, so I made my two little relief cuts. I put a quick little bend in it, kind of eyeballed it. I trimmed this side down just because on the template, I cut it to the pretty much the correct length. I did leave a little meat on the bone. The top half is definitely way longer, as you can see, but looks good. Now let's get this trimmed down. Let's get the angle correct, and then I got to figure out what I'm going to do right here. Probably put a little piece of metal in there and just weld it. Check this out. This is kind of what we got going on here. It's going to fit on the brace like so. And then I got a trim to fit the upper brace. But I do feel like this brace is hanging down a little bit. And that's simply because, well, it's underneath versus being on top of everything. So I'm going to make a bend here. Same with both sides. Get that to twist somewhat upward. Put a couple self-tappers in here. And then try a test fit again. All right, I have to say, I like the way this is turning out. It's definitely exceeding my expectations. Now, I made the necessary adjustments that I needed to the ends, and this came up a lot closer where the original was. I got my bracket screwed in. I pressed up my brace. I made a mark, as you can see right there. So it's going to be time to trim that. I got to fine tune that angle because this is obviously loose, but it's got to go up against the roof. Now, there's the old insulation. I'm sorry, the sound deadening, not insulation. Now I gotta put a piece in there to kind of mimic the gap. I think I have some kill mat laying around from my Camaro. I'm gonna grab a piece and stick it behind here before I do the final welding on this, just to have it there, because I'm not sure if this was supposed to serve a dual purpose where it obviously sound deadened but also prevented rattles from the roof to the brace. So I want to put a little something there just in case. But now we're going to take this all back apart again. Got to make that cut, fine tune the angle, fill in these two little holes there, And it's time to start doing the necessary modifications that need to be done. Now you can see the backside. All right, there it is. Here's the final product. It's all welded in. It blew through in a couple spots. It's ugly, but trust me, she cleans up nice. All I got left, I'm gonna dress these up. Then I gotta drill some holes for some spot welds. And this is ready to burn in. All right, so I got the brace all painted up. I hit it with some self-etch primer. I got my weld-through primer on all the edges. A little bit of tape left over, we'll peel that off. Everywhere I need to weld has been treated with weld-through primer. There was a little dirt there, so I scraped that off. I'm going to coat this all with the self-etch primer once it's welded in, because once I do that lip, pretty much all the paint here is just going to burn away. There's no sense in doing it right now. But this is pretty much ready to start getting in there. Here's a little bracket. Show you the final product here. I took a die grind, a little carbide bit, and I kind of tried to adjust the welds in there. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for me. Sealed. Mimics the factory bracket. Better than most would do. All right, we got this brace screwed into place. It's fitting pretty good across the whole lip. There's a little gap there, but we're going to hammer and dolly that. Got to remember, we are welding it underneath versus on top. So once you add up, let's say, 2 layers of metal, it's going to create maybe a 1/16 to an 1/8 inch difference, which is what we're looking at. So it's all there. That's going to get pushed up into place when we do our spots. We got the repair patch welded in, screwed in. And so now it's time to start burning in that header brace and finally moving on to the windshield channel. All right, so it's officially done. The brace is in. I got my spot welds. I already dressed them up. Got a little carried away on that one. But as you can see, I left a little bit on there. You know, one, I didn't really have to take care of those welds because this is all going to get covered from here on over. But I like to treat all welds the same. I dress them all. There's the brace. Came out really good. I got to touch up the weld right there just a little bit. There's the other side. I didn't even dress that weld there because that one came out nice and flat. But I do got to clean it. I'm going to wire brush all this. We'll give it a new coat of paint. Got to clean down here and weld the cap on. Now I can do this side, but this side I can't because now the next step here is I got to cut this panel out, and I'm probably going to do that. I'm going to come back here, cut it, drill all the welds, remove it. I'll rebuild it over on the bench and then bring it back and weld it back on. Once that's done, I can put the side support on. But as you can see there, I am very happy with the way that brace came out. Got a good angle. Now it's time to come up here and start working this lip. Now, as you can see, I got that gap here, but now that it's welded in, I'm gonna get in here with a block of wood and I'm gonna hammer the steel up and close that gap before I cut this out. That's partially because I'm not perfect. I dropped this brace and it hit the floor and it bent this end, so I had to hammer a dolly back into shape. I have similar situation over here, but at the same time, even though I did drop it, as I keep saying, we got to remember that this brace is supposed to be on top here. Okay, everyone, I'm going to end this one right here because I don't want the video to be too long. Now, stay tuned because on the next one, we're going to finish this up and we're going to get the windshield channel completely finished and keep moving forward with the project. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'm going to catch you on the next one.